'cause it's going fast. If you want it, here it is, come and get it. Make your mind up fast. If you want it anytime, I can give it, but you better hurry 'cause it may not last. Did I hear you say that there must be a catch? Will you walk away from a fool and his money? Sonny, if you want it, here it is, come and get it, but you better hurry 'cause it's going fast. You better hurry 'cause it's going fast.
So the Iveys we got together, Peter, and Mike Gibbons, and a guy named Di Jenkins, and another guy named Di Griffiths. Got together in Swansea, Wales in about '68, and did the normal things that rock bands do. They played rock and roll music, they did some rhythm and blues stuff, and kind of a hard little band from what I hear. And they did all the normal stuff, going around England and Wales playing shows and doing that kind of thing. And eventually, of course, they hooked up with a manager, Bill Collins, a fellow from Liverpool, old shipwright. Had a bit of a history in music in Liverpool. As a matter of fact, he did some work with, I guess, Paul McCartney's dad. They both had swing bands in England in the 30s. Anyway, Di Jenkins, I think, was the rhythm guitar player. He left the band and was replaced by a guy from Liverpool named Tom Evans. And that was the lineup: Tom Evans, Griffiths, Peter Ham and Mike Gibbons. That was the lineup that signed to Apple in, I guess, '68.
The Iveys were, the drummer was, he was working nights and he couldn't make the gigs, right? I forget his name. But I found out they needed a drummer, and this guy Smooth, he was a local beatnik on the jazz scene, told him about me. And Ron Griffiths came home to my house one day, right? This is funny, with his dad, right? On the back of a motor scooter, right? He was on the back of his dad's motor scooter and knocked my door. He says, "Are you Mike Gibbons?" I went, "Yeah." He says, "Well," and he said, "Well, we're going to rehearse this band and blah, blah, blah. Would you like to come and have a rehearsal with us? You know, like an audition?" So I did, the next night. And it was really strange because all these guys, they had like, what's the word? Like crisscross pattern trousers on and shit, and short hair. You know, like the early faces. And I'm like, oh, these guys are weird. And they was playing weird stuff. And I'm used to rock and roll, right? Like thrashing it. And anyway, it was pretty abysmal. Pete didn't like the way I played. He was like, his bass drums all kind of flipped out. And it was pretty abysmal. So I went for a pint around the corner, the bar's next to everything over there, as you know. And I thought, no, that's that, right? And then, to my amazement, he came over and said, "We want to join the band." And I went, I don't know. But I did.
What can I tell you about Bill? He was a pretty fair guy. It was Bill who really got the band to start writing songs and working on writing songs. And he said he didn't care if the songs were about, hamburgers or, light bulbs. It didn't really make any difference. Just write songs and keep writing songs. That's where we're going to achieve success. And he built a little studio in the house for him. Just really worked hard. He put all the money he had, which wasn't much, into the band. He had a little insurance policy, I guess. He cashed in and stuff. And he drove them all over the country. He was actually their roadie as well as being their manager, and really like a member of the band. When I joined, he was in fact, when we went in the studio to do the No Dice album, Bill came and played some piano for us on it. We all dabbled a bit on piano, but Bill played a little piano, a little organ. I worked with him on some guitar solos and things like Without You on that record and stuff. He was very helpful to us in that way, you know. He wasn't a manager. He always said, I'm not a manager. I'd like to be your partner and I'll give you all the advice and all the help I can, but don't look on me as a manager, a professional music manager, because I'm not.
Apple was in its like beginning state. It wasn't even like known about. Only a few people in the business knew it was going to happen, and Bill found out about it. And he turned. I mean, we were starving. The Iveys were starving. Okay, and Bill turned down deals with small record companies, medium record companies, and we were dying for a record deal. You know what I'm saying?
Bill was the man who took the tapes to Apple and kept on taking tapes to Apple. He told the guys, look, the Beatles are opening a record label. He'd read or heard it somewhere. Let's wait. Let's try and get in with them. That's got to be the best label in the world to get in with. They're the best band in the world. They're going to, you know, do the good things. Anyway, so he took the tapes and he kept on going down there and going down there. I think he made a bit of a nuisance of himself. And but eventually, of course, they did listen to the songs, and I think they heard something there, you know. They signed the band first to a publishing deal as songwriters, and then as soon as Apple Records was totally formed, they signed them to a record deal.
Listen to a lonely sound. See the gray and sadness all around. See the people go their way. Care not of me and love I've lost today. Maybe tomorrow I'll never know until I've looked into her eyes. Maybe tomorrow I will love again. I'll never know until I've seen her once or twice. And so I'm living for a dream. Each lonely day spent looking for the sunshine. I'll make believe that I don't care. I'll tell my friends I love my life. I'm happy. Maybe tomorrow I will love again. I'll never know until I've looked into her eyes. Maybe tomorrow I will love again. I'll never know until I've seen her once or twice. Wherever, whoever you may be, let the light of your love shine through the window of my heart. And when you're coming on my love fire, don't let me ever think of now. Maybe tomorrow you will love again. I'll never know until I've looked into her eyes. Maybe tomorrow you will love again. I'll never know until I've seen her once or twice. Maybe tomorrow you will love again. Maybe tomorrow I will
We didn't give it much thought until we went in Apple, when we thought, we've got to change this name. It's insipid sounding, isn't it? Anyway, we went through name after name and started figuring out stuff, and none of us could come up with anything that we liked.
Everybody says that Neil had a record called Badfinger Boogie, a three-fingered piano player, a blues record, and the band was thinking of names for the record, for the new names other than the Iveys, and John Lennon wanted to call the band the Pricks, P-R-I-X, and I guess Paul wanted to call them Mother's Helpers or something. I can't remember, but you know, there were all the normal nonsense names were thrown in, you know. And one day I guess Neil said, hey, what about Badfinger? And everybody kind of looked at each other and said, well, what about Badfinger? You know, what the heck, that's all right, yeah, so I took the name.
McCartney came over we was at the studio, we was at Abbey Road, and he gave us an acetate of Come and Get It, right? Which he played the drums on and everything. He did it in his home studio probably. And he said, well, this is a song they want for the Magic Christian movie with Peter Sellers and Ringo. And see, women was taboo in the band, right? Bill Collins hated women, right, like we talked about. He didn't want them to influence the band or get in the way. He didn't want no pregnant women, so that you'd have, in other words, he wanted you to be 100% into the band and not into raising the family or having outside interests, right? Which a woman would be that, wouldn't it? A serious relationship. He wasn't into it. Anyway, Ron, God bless him, you know, he got his first girlfriend, I think. I mean, the very first time he did it, she got pregnant, okay? And all of a sudden there was a baby in Park Avenue in one of the rooms, you know, sleeping. And Tommy was in the next bedroom, right? And he'd crank up his stereo at 3 in the morning, you know what I mean? Just to be mean, right? And then Ron would come and say, hey man, can you turn it down a bit? And he'd be like, bullshit. And he'd turn it up. See what I'm saying? It got to be like very uncomfortable for him, right? And I don't know the ins and outs of it because I was the last one to know, right? Being the drummer, right? That, hey, he's out, you know? And I was literally the last one to know that he's getting fired, you know? And that he wasn't actually fired, he was pressured out, like he couldn't stand it, right? And he split.
They gave me a call in '69 and I came up to I did an audition down in London with them. They lived in an old dump of a house with a black and white TV and a bare bulb swinging on the old beanbag couch, you know. Linoleum shredding in the kitchen, jam butties and cheese and stuff like that. But they really thought they were quite successful at the time. And I'd already been in a big band, a group called Gary Walker and the Rain. We'd already had a couple of hit records. I'd written a half of an album. It was very successful in Japan. So I already had a little portion of success under my belt then. But it was, I auditioned and passed the audition and they gave me the job, and all of a sudden we were working with the Beatles and all that stuff. It got to be very exciting. When we did the No Dice album, we started to get involved with Mal Evans. Mal Evans was one of the Beatles roadies, and he'd learned a lot about making records over the years, I guess. You know, we were hanging out with the Beatles, you got to learn something. And he'd even played on a bunch of the Beatles stuff, hadn't he, and done all that stuff. He's a big, really gentleman, real kind person, and it's really nice. He took us in the studio to do No Matter What. He was the guy who recorded it, the original version, and we did a song called Friends Are Hard to Find, which has just been re-released on the No Dice record now, one of the unreleased songs. And we presented that to Apple. He took it to Apple, Mel did, and they turned it down, said they didn't think the song was good enough and didn't really think the sound was right. Well, of course, it was good enough and it was right, because it was the same thing that we ended up doing on the record. It was that same version that was released, and it was a big hit for us.
No matter what you are, I will always be with you. Doesn't matter what you do, girl, girl, with you. No matter what you do, I will always be around. Won't you tell me what you found, girl, girl, won't you?
The Song Without You is Apple's most valuable copyright, I believe. It's been recorded by, I don't know, hundreds of people. We did it, of course, on the No Dice record. It's a bit of a funny story. We'd done 11 songs, we wanted to do 12, and we needed another song now. So Tommy said, well, I've got this chorus that goes, I can't live living this without you. And Pete said, well, I've got this verse, I can't forget this evening. And we kind of stuck them in the same key and stuck them together. And it became Without You. And we recorded it as a little kind of bluesy song. If you've ever heard Badfinger's version, excuse me. It's just a little blues song. It's got a little guitar kind of obligato at the beginning, and Pete sings the verses. It's real straightforward, real basic, not really arranged up a storm or nothing. And we stuck it on the record, and Nielsen heard it, I guess, somewhere along the way. And he recorded it, and of course we were recording, this was a couple of years later, we were recording in London at the Air Studios, and Harry Nielsen came walking in the control room. And of course we all kind of went, oh, there's Harry Nielsen, you know. And he said, hello, I'm Harry Nielsen. And he said, I believe you guys are Badfinger. I wonder if you'd do me a favor, I've just finished a mix. Would you come down the hall with me and have a listen to it, give me, tell me what you think about it. And it was kind of a weird thing, but we all kind of went, well, yeah, okay, you know. So we go down the hallway into this, they have a mixing room there in their studios. And we go in, and there's Rupert Perry, is it? Richard Perry or Rupert Perry, the producer. He's sitting at the console, and they press play, and it starts off, it's beautiful, and then he starts singing Without You, and it just blew us all away. His arrangements, it was so powerful and so far removed from what we'd done. It was kind of like a different song almost, but it was a very exciting thing for us. And of course, it was a Song of the Year. It won all sorts of awards, won the Ivor Novello Awards in England. Didn't get a Grammy or nothing, even though it was Song of the Year. But it was a big song, and to this day, it's people are still recording it. Like I say, but Mariah Carey's got it on a new album, so we're real happy with it.
I think it's quite ironic thinking back about the Beatles and Badfinger. A lot of people at the time compared them and said they were very similar sounds. I mean, they both came from Liverpool, and I think it's quite ironic that George Harrison actually got to produce and play guitar on Day After Day. I can also remember another session where Jeff Emerick was producing and I was engineering, and we'd actually swap roles. Jeff used to engineer for the Beatles and I used to assist Jeff, and I went on to engineering and assisted Jeff in producing this track.
When Joey joined the band, that's when we started to, you know, we started to get famous, you know. All of a sudden, we had a hit record in the United States, all right? And it was like, yes. You know, so we were rehearsing, and we were in the studios in Apple rehearsing. They were unfinished, the studios, but we used the facilities that were there, you know. And then we went to Wales, to a farmhouse in Wales, and rehearsed the band there, you know. And that, I think that was the best time, the very best time of Badfinger right there, because it was fresh, you know. We'd never been to the States yet, you know, on a tour.
We were recommended to this guy, Stan Polley, by an agent, a friend of ours in England, Barry Marshall. Barry was a small agent back then. He now runs martial arts. He's one of the biggest promoters in the world. Anyway, he recommended Stan to us. Stan represented Lou Christie, Al Cooper, Charlie Calello, one of Frank Sinatra's producers. People like that, pretty legitimate people in the business. He was well represented by attorneys, commendations from the police departments in New York State on his wall and all that stuff. Lived in Scarsdale, drove a Rolls Royce, penthouse on Central Park South and all that stuff. So we were pretty impressed with the guy. And the deal he talked with us was pretty fair. Was a company, Badfinger Enterprises. He owned 51% for tax reasons. We owned the balance, 49%. They took a 30% commission from Badfinger's gross income. The rest of the money was supposed to be banked.
I was just hanging out in the entrance of a club, waiting to go in the club, and I saw the strangest looking men walk in front of me. The strangest haircuts, the strangest outfits. I didn't notice Joey at first. I noticed Pete Ham with his page boy. And I didn't think anything more of it, so I went into the club. It's a big club, it's First Avenue now. where Prince was started out. And Joey, I guess, had seen me in the club wandering around. So he kind of followed me around. He didn't have the nerve to ask me out, so he got the road manager to ask me to a party after at the hotel. And when I showed up at the party, I hadn't met Joe yet, but the minute I saw him sitting on the floor, he had a girl on each arm, but that didn't seem to matter. He just kind of blew my mind. I just zoned in on him. And at the moment, I wasn't really into finding a man, and I think it was kind of destiny to run into him at that point. So we both more or less fell in love with each other at first sight.
Now, the original Straight Up album, right, was conceived and written round about Clearwell Castle time. We were living in the castle, you know, and which was a wonderful time. You know, my wife was, Gaynor was pregnant with Owen. He was like a sprog in the belly, you know, and we was flying, you know. And Dixie was there, Baby Blue. She was at the castle, staying with Pete. We worked and worked and worked there in the castle to record the album Straight Up, right? Anyway, finally we finished the album, and this is a long, long story. It goes through New York, it goes everywhere. Al Cooper, right, was arranging, because Al Cooper was managed by Polley too, Stan Polley. And we hung up with Al Cooper in New York, and we even did a gig with him. He even opened up for us in Madison Square Gardens. But anyway, we was at Al Cooper's apartment, and he was doing string arrangements and horn arrangements for rough tapes that we made. And we finally put an album together, finished, right? Called it Straight Up. Album, finished, right? Supplied it to Apple. They didn't like it. Sorry. Don't sound good. Well, what? So they figured that they'd help us, right? So George comes in and says, we'll redo this album. We went, okay, you're the Beatle. We just fools, right?
We're in number 3 studio with Pete and George both playing slide guitar. George putting a little bit of his sound on the intro of the song. And it took us a long while to do, long while. I can remember that it was quite a long night, and a lot of people don't realise that although it actually might only go for 20 seconds in time, that can actually take, you know, sometimes 3 or 4 hours to do.
Well, George was really nice with us in the studio. His technique, he's a soft-spoken man. I don't know if you ever met him. He's a real gentleman. He's not a boozer or anything like that, you know. He's a very kind of straight-ahead guy and everything. I was totally in awe of him, I've got to say, with any of the Beatles, actually. Even to this day, I'm still like that if I'm anywhere near these guys. They make me nervous, like, you know. But George is really super. He went out of his way to make us comfortable. He worked hard on all the songs on the record. He didn't say, take Pete's songs and do them all up and screw everybody else. He was very open-minded about who did what and what songs and everything. And anytime he got the chance to play, he'd come and sit in with us and play, which was great, you know. And like he did, he played acoustic guitars on I Die Babe, things like that. He played slide guitar on Day After Day. He came over and asked us, Pete and I were working the parts out, and he came over and asked me, he said, listen, would you mind if I played slide on this? And I'd really like to play. And of course I said, well, yeah, sure, go ahead, you know.
I remember finding out about you. Every day my mind is all around you. Looking out from my lonely room, day after day. Bring it home, baby.
recorded maybe 6 songs, and then Ravi Shankar, I guess, called George. You know, the Bangladesh tragedy happened. And George apologized to us. He said he wasn't going to be able to finish producing the record. And then he had to go to New York. He was going to try and set up a charity thing for, you know, to try and help these people. But he'd arranged for a friend of his, Todd I, to come in and produce the record, and that's a whole other story, you know. Going from George Harrison to Todd I, that's like having a monk and then a circus act. I mean, it's, you know, it's just, it was unbelievable.
When you become known as an associate of the Beatles, you're standing under a large shadow. But here's a group with so much talent and originality, they've established their own identity. They've come into their own as one of the world's top groups today. Ladies and gentlemen, Badfinger.
I'm sorry, but it's time to move away. Though inside my heart, I really want to stay. Believe the love we have is so sincere. you have will always be. You're the apple of my eye. You're the apple of my heart. But now the time has come to part.
Iveys had signed a 5-year deal in '68, so in '73 in the summer, I guess June, July, somewhere there, the contract was up. And we'd recorded our final album for the deal. It was the album Ass. And our manager, Polley, business manager, was talking to Alan Klein about re-signing the band. Now, Klein wanted to cut our deal. I think I mentioned the other day about the deal we had with Apple, where they paid our recording costs and paid us a royalty, and they were really good to us. You know, they got involved with the band and all that stuff, put a lot of faith in us. Well, Klein, of course, is not like that at all. He's a strict businessman, and he thought it was absolute nonsense that they paid the recording costs, and he thought we were getting too much money in royalties. Even though we were the biggest selling act on the label, bar anybody, and I mean anybody on the label, we sold more records. And here was this guy trying to cut our royalties down and just generally giving us bullshit, this normal businessman bullshit. They're just going to steal everything they can, you know, the way they are. Well, our businessman was a bit more hard-assed than Alan Klein, I guess, and he said, well, hey, I'm going to Warner's, and he went to Warner's, and Warner's gave us, I think, $6 million. They guaranteed us over the course of the next 3 or 4 years. They gave us all solo deals. They gave us a multiple album deal, and X amount of dollars every time we delivered. It was a great deal, and a lot of money for publishing, and you know, open budgets and stuff. So it was a great deal, and we signed it. There's an interview with Collins where he's driving around. He says he's driving around New York with Polley in a limousine late one night, and the sheath of contracts for the Warner deal was like this, because it involved the band Badfinger, each individual member of Badfinger, and all the mixtures in between. And it had, like I said, it had to do with the publishing. So he'd roll around New York, and he said he didn't even read the contract.
We all around New York in a big limo, and he said, it's no good to get lady and read this contract, but it's 3 inches thick. But he said, basically, you've got to understand, and he talked and talked and talked and drummed into my mind that we had a $3 million deal to make 6 albums in 3 years.
We were in Tommy's flat, Tommy and Marianne Evans, right? Well, they weren't Evans yet, they weren't married, but we met there to go over this contract, right? I was pretty bummed because I wanted to stay with Apple. I figured it was like, you know, the Musketeers, right? Stay with it. Anyway, everybody was leaving Apple, but Stan Polley came up with this idea, and he didn't tell us it. He gave it to the attorney or whoever this guy was, right, to tell us what it entailed. It was $3.5 million, whammo, in the bank right there, right, for so many albums. I think it was 8 albums. And this, that, and the other. You get producing rights, you can be producers, every one of you can be a producer. Go talent scout, do this, you know what I mean? Whatever you want to do, right? And we went, sounds good, doesn't it? So we did. Bill was like, what are you gonna, Alan Klein's not gonna give you $3.5 million. So trusting in Bill, right? We did. We said, okay, sign. We signed it all. We all signed it. And Stan's attorney, or whoever, said, well done, boys. He said, you can whistle on your next albums now. You can fart on them. You're rich. You're going to be millionaires, all right? He said, you've done, this is it. Do it for you. You're going to be millionaires. And I was 21 years old, right? And I walked out of that place like I was walking on air, okay? It's like, I think I'll phone my father and say, hey, Dad, guess what? I'm a millionaire, right? We all felt, ask Joey, he was like, let's go party, let's go to the pub, you know, celebrate, right? We just made a few $1 million by signing a bit of paper.
When I saw a stack of contracts this tall on the desk, and I saw a check over here, and the boys would come up to the desk and they'd look at the contracts and they'd look at the check, and they were watching the check as they were signing the contracts. I think it was for $660,000. It was an advance towards publishing and recording. When they signed the check, or they signed the contracts, the check disappeared. The money was gone. We never saw the money again. The stack of contracts disappeared. We didn't even have our own copies. So we couldn't read what we'd signed, what Joey had signed, the band had signed. Before they signed these contracts, Stan Poses was an assistant manager with Stan Polley. He'd been in the business for quite a while, I think actually longer than Stan Polley had been in the music business. Stan Poses knew that the contract we were signing was a no royalty deal. He took Pete Ham and Tommy aside and told them, you're signing a big deal, but you're not going to get anything in the end. Whether it be the money up front, it wasn't really worth it, or that Polley was going to take the money, I don't know. But he said, you won't get your money. Your best bet is to get away from the management and go do the record deal on your own.
Suitcase, follow me round. Bootlace, tie me down. Money upon yeah, golden crowns, all inside a game we've been playing so long. Driver, go too fast. Miser, make it last. Pusher, on the run. It's all inside a game we've been playing so long. Sorry to believe it, it's all I get to see. Sorry to believe it today. Sorry to believe it today.
We did the tours and the money was all banked. We took $300 a week, $325 a week wages, and we figured, you know, it wouldn't last long, so we'd save money. And the idea was to work for 4 or 5 years, build a big cash balance in Badfinger Enterprises, and then we were going to go public. And the assets would be our music, which we wrote ourselves, and cash. And the band itself, which was doing excellent business on the road, sellouts everywhere. So The idea was we'd go public and net maybe 8 times the amount of money we had. We were talking about $50 or $60 million, and we'd all share it. It'd be like 12 each. Be very nice, and we'd still be able to carry on. Of course, it was a scam. The Polley spent the money quite freely, and
See, Stan Polley got the royalties. All the ASCAP checks went to Stan Polley, right? Which was like Badfinger Enterprises, Inc., probably, right? You know, that's gone. That's out of there. You know what I mean? On paper, it sounds good. Well, you're making this much. It never did say how much, but we figured it's got to be this much, you know, slightly. And we figured we're doing like 2 tours a year, or, you know what I mean, 3 months tours. It's a long time. 6 months on the road. It's a lot of gigs, you know. And we figured, yeah, we got to be getting the bank balance here, you know what I mean? Because we're not going over the top. We didn't have fancy cars, man. You know, I mean, every car we bought was second-hand. You know, we never bought Ferraris or good cars. You know, but we figured, hey, the pot's building up. No problem. You know, it kept going that way, kept going. But when Warner Brothers did that deal with the Polley was doing this and that was doing that, and we were going, what? Well, let's go find the money quick. And we couldn't. Obviously, it was gone.
we were in Caribou, Jeff Gersio's place in the Rocky Mountains, recording the Wish You Were Here album for Warner's. And Polley, at that time, threatened me actually with the end of my career because I refused to sign certain papers he wanted signed. And it was a very unpleasant scene up there. You know, it was obvious what was happening now. Although the rest of the group didn't seem to see it. Tommy may have seen it. Pete absolutely refused to believe it.
At that point in time is when the shit started hitting the fan, where, you know, Warner Bros. Had sued Stan Polley, right? Because money went missing out of escrow, some $300,000 or something, I don't know, sort of $50,000. And in turn, they individually sued each member of the band. We didn't even know they were suing. We didn't know, you know what I mean? I mean, this is just after Wish You Were Here, you know what I mean? And then, of course, you had that one more album which he was trying to finish, and which Polley was still involved in. But Warner Brothers was like, that's it, you know, this isn't getting released, get out of here, this is done, you know? And they kind of stopped that album in, you know, in recording that. It was a waste of time. And Wish You Were Here, man, it was like, wish you were where, you know? It was like, they pulled it off the shelf as soon as they started selling. I can't believe they did that, you know? They should have at least made some money off of it, right? But they pulled it, you know? I mean, it's like, oh, Gibbons, man, you're going to be pumping gas. You know, I'm going to be pumping gas after this, right? You know, hey, what was he doing yesterday on Monday? I played Carnegie Hall. What are you doing next week? Oh, I'm pumping gas for the week. You know what I mean? But it was like, I mean, reality sets in right away. And Pete was pretty devastated with Stan Polley because he trusted him, you know, more than any of us. Pete said, nah, the guy's okay, he's okay, you know? And it took Tommy to actually bring it round that you getting shafted, you know? Because the night before Pete died, he was hanging out, because they lived a few hundred yards apart, you know what I mean? And they were in Pete's house and they were playing and joking around, you know? And then they got on he said, get on the phone here, I got Stan Posers on the phone. He'll tell you what's going on. Because he fired Stan Posers, you know, for letting the bag out of the, you know, cat out of the bag. And he got it from his mouth, man, and he was like, deflated, right? You know what I mean? Getting that news then, like, this is real. I got this house, I can't pay for it. And what are you going to do? You know? Who do I get in touch with? We couldn't get in touch with Bill Collins. Bill didn't know nothing. He was way out of his league, you know? I mean, Bill's in Golders Green, right? In London. Stan Polley's out in Los Angeles, in Beverly Hills, you know? He stayed at the Beverly Wilshire like it was like for breakfast, you know? So, we couldn't get the guy, right? I phoned Mickey Wood in LA, his secretary. Oh, Stan's out of town, he was never there, you know? And then I couldn't get through to her. You know what I'm saying? And then I couldn't get to her. So, you know, who do I talk to?
While we were in Los Angeles, there we got the phone call, of course, one day that Peter was dead. He'd killed himself. Couldn't believe it, really. That was in April of '75, and we were broke at the time, really living off friends, living in a little apartment on Holloway Drive there.
And Tommy got in touch with me. He said, "Sit down." I said, "Why?" I said, "Did the deal go down?" He said, "No, worse." Pete's dead. I went, you know what I mean? You don't expect that, do you? All right? I mean, when your grandmother's 99, you don't expect her to die, right? When it actually happens. But when it's somebody 27 years old, or, you know, whatever, he was 27, I mean, that was devastating, right? It was, and from then on in, man, it was like, you know, nighttime, you know what I mean? It was like nighttime for me for a while. You know, rock and roll sucks, you know?
I saw the railway master and I looked him in the eye. Said, would you go much faster if you thought that you would die? He said, not me, sir, I could not care. In fact, I would not try. For protest would not take me far. It's different me not being a star. I lock my feelings in a jar till another day. Oh, comfort me, dear brother, won't you tell me what you know? For somewhere in this paper world is a place where I can go. Oh, long-awaited mother, is it time to make a show? And take your babies to your breast. You know we never passed the test. And all our sins should be confessed before we carry on.
Take your seat by the ringside. Watch them bidding for your blood. Who will own you tomorrow? Will you be misunderstood? Take me back to the Father. Take me home. For I can't bear to feel the sorrow of the evil that you've shown. Keep your ear to the grapevine. Hear them sail you down the line. Watch they cross you tomorrow, while they smile and say it's fine. Take me back to the country. Let me roll. For I can't bear to feel the sorrow of the evil that you've shown.